noteworthy and historic night before the everything moves across to International House. So with that, I will kick off the agenda. So first agenda item, apologies and substitutes.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillors Forrest and Councillors Chapman, Eustace, Collins, Burns, Barrett and Wibberley, and also from Alison Oates. We also have substitutions, we also have apologies from Councillor Michael, and substitutions, Councillor Bartlett for Councillor Forrest and Councillor McGeever for Councillor Michael.
Councillor Bartlett.
Yes, did you mention Councillor Buchanan? He's unable to attend this evening as well.
Thanks, that's noted. So on to item 2, declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? No? Okay. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Can I take those as approved? All in favour?
Chairman, can I just say something about that? I mean, one of the points on it I did speak about by Burnham Close being closed. Apparently, they had a problem with the Ordnance Survey map and felt that one of the footpaths was a way to get into the close. I did mention it at this last meeting, and I don't know if it was you, Jamie, that was going to take it away and speak to them, but subsequently the workman turns up and they close the road. Now, this is access for ambulances, fire engines. We have quite a lot of pensioners that need medical care going into that close, and they couldn't gain access to it. It was me that actually got them to open up the road. It delayed the work for the morning, I believe, while they actually got the traffic calming measures in place. But I just sort of think, why mention it here if nothing's going to happen? The whole thing seems to be a waste of time if we don't actually have a voice and we're able to influence things that are actually happening.
Okay, I do believe it was raised officers, so I can check back and see what happened in response to that.
Lovely, thank you, Chairman. And the other point I wanted to make, really, I mean, I did request the consolidated active travel plan, and you were going to see if you could get it to September's meeting. Now, I don't see it on the report, and I'm a bit frustrated because this was at Canterbury's JTB in May, the report. So all I've asked for is Ashford's figures. So it's not beyond the wit of man just to put in the Ashford figures onto that, and for officers from KCC to actually come up with this particular plan. So I'm not sure what representations you've had as the chairman to make sure this actually happens, but it hasn't happened. And again, it's getting to be like a talking shop, and we need to be doing a little bit better than that.
Yeah, from memory, I believe that we were told they couldn't provide the figures yet, but I will go back to that one and see if we can get it for the next meeting. Okay, if there isn't anything else, I will move for the minutes to be approved. So all agreed? Okay, item 4, to receive any petitions. Are there any petitions to be received?
Thank you, Chair. No, we haven't received any petitions, only the item on the agenda for an update of the previous petition to note.
So if there are no comments on that, I will move on to item 5, implementation of the EES, verbal update from Toby Howe.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've been here before because EES was due to have come in last year, so we had briefings, etc. about it then. However, now it is actually being implemented. So the EU are implementing the entry-exit system on the 12th of October this year. There will be a 6-month phased implementation when initially for the first month, each EU member state only needs to register 10% of people entering that country. So in theory, with Dover and Eurotunnel being juxtaposed, i.e. all customs checks are carried out on this side, they could be allowed not to have to register anybody in that phase, because France could maybe choose simply to use Orly Airport and Gare du Nord, for example. However, both Eurotunnel and Port of Dover want to get the process up and running. They want to get as many people registered as quickly as possible, because once you're registered, the next time you go through, you just do less, so it will take less time. So the more they can get registered over a longer period, the better from their point of view. So what does it mean for us? Those of us that are UK nationals, we have to register when we go to any EU country. So whether we're flying to Oslo or Malaga or a Greek island, or whether we're taking the ferry or the tunnel across to France, we will have to register for the new EES system. And what that entails is a facial picture, fingerprints, and scanning a passport. Eurotunnel are already set up. They have an enclosure as you go through from check-in to the terminal, where you will park next to a unit. Each member of the car gets out, follows that process, registers, answers a few questions of where you're going, and then you continue on your way to France. Likewise, if you fly to one of the airports, you'll arrive, you'll be in a queue, you'll have that same terminal to do the same. When you come back to the UK, again, you'll enter your information to show that you're leaving the EU. And this is all because as a non-EU resident, we are only allowed to stay in the EU for 90 days in every 180 days. So as I said, it is going to be a phased process. So for Easter next year, it will be 100% checks everywhere, regardless, because by then the 6-month implementation will be over. So that's when we're expecting the most traffic issues, with everybody arriving for Easter holidays, all confused as to what they've exactly got to do. Port of Dover in particular will be very different for everybody, because they are developing the Western docks for where you'll register, and then you will drive to customs as you do now in the Eastern docks. What we are expecting is a lot of people still to head straight to Eastern docks and then be turned round, causing delays at the Eastern docks roundabout. But traffic management plans are there. So what impact will this have on Ashford and residents of Ashford? What it will have is what the next item is, which I will go into more detail then, in that traffic management plans that we have in place will remain to control and manage traffic to the portals. What I do have is a slide pack that's been recently prepared for another meeting that goes into far more detail on EES. I will share that with Claire so that she can then circulate it to members of this Joint Transportation Board. So hopefully that gives a very brief overview of what EES is when it's coming in. But as I say, the slide pack will go into far more detail. So if there are any questions, Chair.
Councillor Feasey.
Toby, thank you very much for that presentation. I know there was a few problems with the French software system before, and I just wondered if has that been resolved, and do we expect a smooth transaction?
We hope for a smooth transition. The problem that we had when we tested it originally, and when it was going to come in last year, all of that processing and registration was going to, at Dover, was going to be having to be carried out in the lanes heading into Eastern Docks. So Port of Dover didn't have space for the terminals, and they would have been coming around with a handheld device. So now that they've got Western Docks, they're able to have proper terminals where you will park your car, get out and use those terminals. The system has been tested elsewhere. Dover will be testing it shortly this month, as will Eurotunnel, but we're far more confident with these systems functioning properly now.
Thank you, Chairman. Toby, quick question. Do you have any information yet on the reintroduction of the pet passport scheme, which we were promised about 6 months ago, I think. But I wondered if you do, being someone who travels regularly with a pet, it would be very helpful to know when that is going to be reintroduced.
I'm afraid I have no information on that, but I can certainly find it out and I'll send it through so it can go up with the minutes.
Any other questions on this item? If there's nothing, I will move on to item number 6, which is update on Operation Brock, which I believe is with Toby again.
It is. Thank you, Chair. Yes, so Operation Brock, love it or hate it, it is still there. And over the summer, it was very well used and very successful. We had around about 6 weekends, I think, over the summer where it was very, very busy down in Dover. And out of those 6 weekends, Brock went active with control every weekend. And by active with control, I mean that freight was actually held within Brock to stop it all queuing down through Folkestone and into Dover. So it succeeded in exactly what it was meant to do, to control that flow to Dover. I appreciate that people from Ashford and Maidstone that only use the section of M20, for example, between junctions 8 and 9, get very frustrated, as I used to when I worked in Maidstone, that you drive past and through Brock and you see all the lorries travelling along with no hold-ups. Brock has to be out for the set period because it isn't possible to be put out, taken back in, put out, taken back in on a whim, as the resource to put out Brock is approximately 70 operatives for national highways that have to come from other schemes. So they have to be programmed on a date with advance notice to be able to come in to implement Brock and then to remove it. What we do now do is that when we know the dates that it's going to be required, it is put out as close to that date as possible. Previously, it was always put out on about the weekend before, so it could have been out for a week before it was definitely needed, and then it would be in a week afterwards. This time it went in on the Thursday, ready for the Friday, and it was taken out on the Sunday night immediately after the last Saturday. So in reference to EES that I just spoke about, Brock will still be there for that. The government have issued reasonable worst case scenario figures for EES, which are a lot better than they were last year. There was a meeting and Ashford were publicised as quoting 14-hour delays. Those delays are not now forecast. What they're expecting is a lot less, that it'll be minimal increase, and what we see now is what has been forecast by the government. I personally have my doubts about that because I think there will be confusion, as I mentioned. So I think that Brock will be active with control more frequently over the holiday periods coming up. But Brock will certainly still be used and will remain to be used until there is an alternative. What we are doing also as Kent County Council is we're working closely with the Department for Transport to really push for alternatives, whether that's more lorry parks, whether that's a technological solution, but something is needed so that Kent doesn't have to bear the brunt of all of the UK traffic heading to Dover and Eurotunnel to Europe. And that is why we have Brock, that's why we have the traffic congestion in Kent. So that's pretty much where we are on Brock at the moment. Again, Chair, any questions?
Councillor Drury.
Thank you. How many hours does it add on average to a truck journey? I've spoken to a few drivers, because you can talk to them down over the bridges, and some of them have waited there over 5 hours. Is that normal? Is that how long would they normally spend going through Dover?
Sadly, there isn't a normal time, because the problem is the reason we use Brock is when the port is very busy, and the ferry companies in the port, well, the ferry companies in particular, prioritise tourist traffic. So when, as we saw over a lot of the weekends at the beginning of summer, there were approximately over 10,000 cars heading to the port, the freight is what gets held back. One of the Saturdays, I think it was about August the 1st or 2nd, PATH, who do the border checks down at Dover, had issues, and it was taking 3 times as long to process each car. So we had Dover gridlocked with cars trying to get into the port as there was no room. So on that day, freight was certainly held for a long, long time in Brock because we could not release any freight into Dover whilst all the cars were still there. Ordinarily, they might only be within Brock for half an hour, and they're drip fed down to Tap, which is on the A20 between Folkestone and Dover, and then drip fed into the port.
And some of them will run out of driver's hours in that process.
Yes, they do, unfortunately. And I mean, it is not the best. No, I suppose it's the best of the options that we have. And I fully appreciate it isn't good for the freight, but if they weren't queuing, if we didn't have Brock to queue them in, they would be sitting on the M20 and A20, causing a lot more problem, and they wouldn't at least have the space where they could get out the lorry. They would be in a queue. It would be much more dangerous. So those queues would still be there. They just wouldn't be managed and controlled. And in the worst case scenario, if it's very, very hot, for example, we do then issue water and other welfare, if necessary, to the freight drivers in that queue. If they were stationary on the A20 and M20, we wouldn't be able to do so.
Councillor Bartlett.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask about the date when Brock was lifted. It may have been that I picked the wrong time to go to Dover, but going to Dover on the Saturday after when Brock was lifted, which was the one before the bank holiday, it was chaotic. And I just wonder whether there was understandable eagerness for lifting Brock. And it'd probably be the last time I'll ever say this. Maybe Brock should have been on longer than it was otherwise kept in place. But anyway, it was just a personal observation. Last Saturday of August was chaotic in Dover.
It was, and the reason that, or the justification that Brock goes out is based on the figures generally from Dover. So Dover give us their figures of what they're expecting over weekends, and that is what decides when Brock is out. The last Saturday that they gave us what we call a red day with the figures was the one before the bank holiday. We then found actually that they had some very sudden bookings, heavy bookings for that last weekend that were not anticipated. So based on the data supplied by the port, there wasn't going to be a need for it. And in fact, as you found out and as we found out, there were heavy queues. There were also a couple of issues. I believe that DFDS had problems with the booking system, which added to that. But a lot more traffic booked very late on for that Saturday that had not been anticipated. And it is one of those things that, you know, Brock can be out and actually there's no problems and it all flows beautifully, or Brock isn't out and there are problems. It's sadly one of the problems we have to deal with.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes.
I can't hear anything if something is being said.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Sorry about that. Why was Operation Brock left on for such a long time in the summer holidays? And secondly, I know KCC don't control the motorway, it's Highways England, but how much does the operation of Operation Brock cost the KCC?
Right. First question, Brock was out through the summer holidays based on the data, as I just explained, on when we were expecting red days. So the very first getaway, because it is now spread out quite a bit, it always used to be that first big getaway as schools broke up. We then had actually sort of 3 school breakup weekends. So it went out on the 16th of July. And based on the information after the 4th of August, which was, we anticipated the 2nd of August was going to be the last big getaway. So it was reviewed on the 4th of August, and we were told by Port of Dover that the 8th and 9th were still going to be busy. So it was then reviewed again on the 11th, and we were told that the 15th and 16th were going to again be busy. It was then reviewed, and as we just heard, we were told that the next weekend was going to be quiet, so Brock was removed. So it was based on the dates given by Port of Dover, and they were totally correct, and they were all very busy weekends. The costs, all I know of the costs are totally paid for by DfT. KCC do not pay anything towards that. So all the work that I do, all the work that my team do to do with Brock is funded by the Department for Transport, not by Kent County Council.
Thank you.
Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Chair. Toby, is Dover a turn up and go, and how much would it influence if they pre-booked? Would Brock be necessary then if it was all pre-booked in advance, like most other travel things?
I honestly don't know that. I mean, all I know is that it is the most popular crossing, and therefore whether they're pre-booked or turn up and go, all the big freight companies have accounts with both Eurotunnel and Port of Dover. So very often a driver doesn't know until he even gets to Maidstone which one he's going to go to. So it would be very difficult for the freight companies to manage it if they had to book. So if they booked Dover and there was a problem, or if they booked Eurotunnel and there was a problem. So they have that flexibility, which I think takes away the booking facility. But in theory, it would still be the same number of vehicles heading down there. There is a lot of pressure on the ferry companies to reduce the numbers of bookings that they do take over the very busy weekends, because they will always overbook, as a lot of the aircraft do, to make sure their ferries are full. And in theory, you can have hours of delay, but you can still go online and book a crossing at that time. So that is one of the problems we have to deal with, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments on that item? Not seeing any, so I will move on to the next agenda item. Thank you for the updates, Toby.
Thank you.
Oh. Yes, yeah, I thank you for that. Yes, the item 7, the update on Ashford bus gates is going to be deferred to the next meeting due to the officer being on sick leave. But Councillor Hayes, I can see you'd like to make.
Yes, thank you about that. I did contact Lorna Day, who's the officer responsible for the report, and did ask about the cameras and the implementation of the cameras. And I believe they have started perhaps to issue tickets, but I'm not clear. It seems to be very complicated in the area, as I live in the area and I see what goes on. There has been there's usually a 6-month period where people are warned and aren't issued tickets. I believe we're near the end of that and into the period where people will receive a ticket for contravention of the bus gate. And this is going on some time. It seemed to be very vague when we were told the cameras were going to be implemented. Heaven knows it's taken over 20 years to get enforcement on the bus gate in the first place. And we're still having delay about a report about an important installation of a bus gate. Yeah, it really is. It doesn't look very good. I have requested, she said she will furnish me with further information in the future and possibly contact me. But I think it's very important to see what these bus gates are doing and how they're being implemented. And I must say, I'm very disappointed with them not turning up and giving a report at this meeting. I'd like that to be put on the record.
Yeah, that can be noted. the reason we were given was due to sick leave. But yes, we can note that we definitely would like to see the figures at the December meeting. Councillor Bartlett and then Councillor McGeever.
Well, I just wanted to emphasise the point on page 19. I expect Ray was going to say the same thing, that the ongoing delay at Bluebell Road are very, very frustrating because that has a knock-on effect on Finsbury, because the next stage of CCTV is on the bus link between Finsbury and Bridgefield. And so I think that when we have the report in December, Chairman, if you would kindly ask them to get them, not quite who them are, get their finger out on Bluebell Road and Finsbury Busgate.
Councillor McGeever.
Yes, Councillor Bartlett, fully agree with you there. He sort of he whipped the carpet away from me. The issue I've got here is that there are two accesses leading from Bridgefield to Finsbury, one of which is a bus route. The second one is still under the wing of the developer, and I had in my notes here tonight to actually go through some of the details in this, but I would like to support Councillor Bartlett's point of fact. I would also like that information, please, because that is my ward. And although we haven't got this sort of bus situation, it's been going on too long. There is no connectivity at all between Bridgefield, like bus route wise, between Bridgefield and Finsbury. And it does reflect on the whole sort of working ethos of a development. It's been years, 12, 13 years. So, yes, that was one of my points I wanted to make to Jamie Cunningham, but since it's covered by Agenda 7, Item 7, I'm going to slot that in, please, and then just tick that off my list. Thank you.
Yeah, and we could certainly ask for that information as well for the next meeting. But Jamie, I think, is online, so I don't know if he can shed any light tonight on that.
Yeah, with regards to, I've said this before. I mean, obviously, it's not within my team, the bus gates and the ticketing, etc. But for the last meeting, which I wasn't on, I did manage to get you guys from that team some information. I think that was put through that you should have all seen. Yes, all I can say is 100% both bus gates are up and running, and they do issue tickets. The 6-month period we talk about, and I did explain this before, is basically if you drive through it within that first 6 months, you'll get one letter sent to you. But if you drive through it again, you'll get the ticket. It's just there's a 6-month period where each person gets that one chance of initiation you might have not realised, kind of thing. But yeah, from the start, if you went through it more than once, you were issued with a ticket and a fine. So yeah, there's definitely the evidence to show that there's a lot of tickets being sent out. So yeah, I'm a little bit sort of concerned and confused myself as to why a report's not been sent through. Enough emails were sent through to sort of like make sure stuff was sent to Danny on time for the meeting. So I can only chase that up outside the meeting.
Councillor Chaco Jacob.
Thank you, Chair. Jamie, can I correct you on that information? I think on the last meeting we discussed about this, and the bus ticket already, bus gate tickets already started rolling out. There's no grace period anymore, because people from my community, they've been complaining about they've been issued bus tickets. So that's
what I mean. Though, yeah, those 6-month periods, it didn't mean for 6 months nobody got a ticket. That's what I mean. There was tickets even being issued during that time, because if you went through it more than once, you were getting a ticket, because it was just a letter on the first time that you sort of broke the rules. So yeah, tickets have been going out all the time, and I think you're right, the 6-month period definitely for Beaver Road is over. I'm not sure about the other one, but yeah, I assume the 6 months is over for that one as well.
Councillor Hayes.
Thank you. On a connected matter, recently when the gas people took over Goddington Road, they closed Goddington Road without anybody knowing. And there was no change of light. So with these cameras on there, when they closed the road, everyone in the area, Goddington Road area, have the only way they can exit is over the bridge, over the bus gate. But there was no temporary lights to ensure that. So they have to have four-way traffic lights from Kings Avenue, Sackville Crescent, Carlton Road from both sides. This didn't happen. I wrote to Councillor Pamela Williams, and she got it done very quickly because it was very, very dangerous because people were going over the bus gate because that's the only way you could do. Now, one has asked the question to Jamie, would those people get a ticket? Because that's the only way they could exit the area.
I'd have to say, just from my own personal opinion on it, and expertise, if I was to arrange works for closing Goddington Lane, I would, like to say, I agree with you. You'd have to bag off the traffic lights at the end to allow for the access and have safe access and egress to the site, and you would have to put a sort of termination on the bus gate cameras whilst the works were in place, because people would have no choice but to drive through that. It'd be the only access in and out of the site. So yeah, and I assume SGN would have put that in place. If you go through our streetworks team, fill out the necessary forms when you're planning your work, you can get the bus gates temporarily sort of shut down so that people can go through there. But with regards to what happened with that site at that time, I can't answer that. But if they put the pause in place on the cameras, then no, they wouldn't have got a ticket.
The problem is SGN take these block traffic orders to close roads. I believe it lasted months, but they sometimes obviously don't always take them up. They obviously must have at some stage decided to close the road, not informed the KCC highways. Now, that's not so bad when there aren't cameras on the bus gate, but when there's cameras on the bus gate, that's a different thing altogether, isn't it?
No, absolutely. I agree with you. But if it wasn't emergency works, then they should have planned it properly, gone through our
Indeed.
street works. Yeah. I don't believe they were emergency works. To be honest, I think the first bunch of SGM works, they, if I recall, put a delay on the initiation of the bus gate the first time, didn't they? That's why there
Yeah,
was a delay on the bus gate being installed, because of the SGM works in the first place.
that's correct.
Yeah. But with regards to the other set of works you're talking about, I can't really answer that. I mean, I hoped that they would have put the sort of shut off of the bus gate, because obviously they would have needed to. But they would have had to have gone through our streetworks team to be able to do that and send in the necessary forms, which my team would have to do. We're planning some sort of carriageway repair works there, and that's what we've got to do. We've got to shut off the bus gate, and as you say, bag off the traffic lights that end, shut it off right up the other end of the road, and that's the only access and egress that you can have into Goddington Lane for the residents.
Let's hope there's more vigilance of communication between the two bodies in the future.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to come in there. It's Catherine from Ashford, but just what Jamie was saying, from an enforcement point of view, the tickets would be through by now. They come through within a certain time scale, so there must have been something in place for them not to proceed with enforcement.
Thanks, Catherine.
Councillor McGeether.
Just picking up on that last comment, is there any proof that we're not taking tickets and we're not taking money off people indiscriminately because they can't prove, or they, that the works have actually stopped access, proper access? So, are we actually not? But we're not finding people who can't help but break the conditions of the roadworks. Is there any proof that we've got of that, please?
We can take that away, certainly, and ask for proof, yeah.
Right, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions on item number 7? Can't see any, so I will move on to item 8 on our agenda, which is the Highways Works Programme Update Report. Is there anything to report on this item? Not in the report, Jamie. Sorry, Councillor McGeever.
Yes, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I've got 1 or 2 points that Councillor Michael has asked me to pass on in relation to your Highway Works programme. I haven't been able to get them over to Jamie in time because I've been interrupted. I couldn't get through to him in the afternoon, and my email failed this evening, so I have made some effort. But let me go through some of the points, please. First of all, Councillor Michael is making an inquiry regards progress of resurfacing Discovery Drive. He feels as though, and these aren't his words, after a conversation I had, he feels as though that there is no verification as to when the handover would be complete after resurfacing of Discovery Drive has been, been finished. He's concerned that the timescale between surface completion and handover could be a matter of years and not necessarily weeks or months. So could KCC actually verify that there is a timescale, or what sort of plans, what procedures are they working towards that would, give some indication to residents that once this job's finished, it's done, it's not hanging about. And also, there was a footnote there on the timescale of that. I've mentioned the timescale for KCC. I'd like comments on that, please, Jamie. On a more general theme, we can say that KCC is KCC actually putting pressure on developers to actually complete complete handover of these access roads, because I know in my ward I got several situations where in Kingsnorth and Bridgefield that the roads, that the final road access needs completed, the tarmacking needs done. I didn't see anything under agenda item 8. There's nothing there to verify that that these works are complete. And that's in several locations in Bridgefield. Nothing on Bridgefield in the agenda item 8. Absolutely nothing. Also, I have the issue that Councillor Bartlett and I were concerned about, and that was traffic connectivity. That has been mentioned, and I wish that we can actually look at this, please, in the concept of Rylands Way. Because Rylands, I think, is it Rylands? Let me get this right. Rylands Way. Check my notes. It is Rylands. This actually, the Rutledge Avenue. Yeah, that's Rutledge Avenue. Rutledge Avenue is not complete. It's still on the ownership of the developers. The same situation exists for Rutledge Avenue, as does Discovery Drive. Although I would suggest that Rutledge Avenue has been waiting to be completed by the developers, by KCC and the developers, and handed over for a number of years, a lot further, a lot greater than Discovery Drive. We're talking possibly 10 to 12 years here, and there are works still to be done. And I visited Rutledge Avenue earlier this evening, and I saw that there was absolutely no attention paid to lampposts that were needing replaced. The developer, I do believe, wishes to enter into negotiations and make sure that they hand the roads over as promptly as possible. And I think there's some sort of communication delay between KCC and the developers. And I would like some verification that there isn't a delay. And if there is, what can you do about actually sorting it out? And is it on a time scale? Because, as I said, it's not on agenda item 8. It's an outstanding works, and it doesn't look as though anything's happening on Rutledge Avenue. and that can actually, that is a small example of the whole situation that I've got in Bridgefield. And it's called South, it's 106 money that is needing tidied up. KCC need to take charge of this and then reach some sort of compromise and negotiate a handover, please, because I think residents are getting shortchanged here. And they've been doing this for years, and it's about time we leveled the playing fields up here, please. So I've got more information, Jamie. I can send that to you on email. So I'm cutting the long story short here, but any comments, please, would be welcome. Thank you.
Jamie, would you like to come?
Yeah, I fully understand all that. Yeah, if you can send me all of that, I've taken down as much notes for that as I possibly can. Obviously, our development team would deal with this. We've got a designated development control engineer, project manager. He would be dealing with all of these sites. There's a lot going on in Ashford, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's quite good at what he does. So if you can email me that, and I can get him to give you good updates on. I've written down 3 sites: Rutledge Avenue, Bridgefield, and Discovery Drive. And he'll just have to get you some updates on where they sit at the moment. Yeah.
Yes, I'm very interested in the idea that if you could contact your development team manager
100%.
and find out the situation between the developer and possibly ABC/KCC, if there's any negotiations, because I was left with the impression that I was in contact with the developer, let's say a month ago, and we had communicated the idea that he was in the process, or they were in the process of setting something up with either yourself or KC or Ashford Borough Council, or as a group. Now, I haven't heard any word back from anyone on that. So it's possibly wishful thinking on my part, whether that's actually happening or not. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll get you an update from the development team on that. Like I said, before this meeting's held, I've run myself a sort of coordination meeting with all sort of stakeholders in Ashford and anyone who does any sort of work around Ashford, the different teams, just to get any sorts of update. And the development team are on that. They always give me real good updates, but none of the 3 you're talking about have been flagged as being delayed or any sort of update on them. So those 3 in particular, I'll need to go to them and get them to come your way. So send me an email and we'll get you something over. Okay.
I've attempted to send an email, but my security blocks me. But I'll try again, and we'll sort something out on that.
But failing that, if you can give me a call or something. I'll find your email. But try to email me. If not, I'll ping you one. Can I? It's not got the usual flag of who I'm talking to, councillor. How do you spell your name? Sorry.
MCG EEVER. Councillor McGeever.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, and I'll.
It's also it's ray.mcgeever, at ashford.gov.uk as well. You can try that. I've tried your one and I didn't get through on it, so you can have a go on mine. Thank you.
No worries. I'll do that. No worries. All else fails, I'll give you my number and we can talk on the phone and we'll sort something out. All right.
Right. Cheers.
No worries.
Thank you for that, Jamie. Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Chair. Jamie, I just want to ask a question. The Chilmington Green Road, the A28 Sandy Lane Junction, which is currently being modified for the new school opening, with the blocking off at Chilmington Green Road at the end with the A28 and the new link road. A lot of the residents around Stubbs Cross area and Challex are very confused about what's going on. We had traffic orders published to say that the road will be open back end of last week and then shut again for a couple of days for the handover, but it hasn't been opened, and the works today look like they're going on for some time because they were only just surfacing. Would it be possible to give us an update on when that road and the road link will be open? Because Magpie Hall is lovely and quiet at the moment, but it's going to be very busy when the schools start, and there's no facility for turning the schools round when it does start. Thank you.
Yeah, again, that'll sit with the development team. I'll have the same guy that I'm going to need to speak to about the other 3 issues there, updates. I'll need to speak to him. I'm surprised that the road's not reopened. I didn't see any sort of extension emails that we usually get if works were going to overrun, etc. And obviously Chilmerton Green is a bit of a hot topic at the moment. So again, I'll have to get an update on that. Are you able to ping me an email? Is that okay if I ask for that?
Yes, of course.
Is that all right? And I'll sort that out tomorrow.
Are there any other comments or questions? Councillor Drury?
So, right. From the minutes of the last meeting, I think we were going to get a report from KCC about the speed management on Church Road in Merstham, which was a petition issue. And I don't see that listed anywhere in the Highways Works programme, or I wonder whether it's anywhere else, perhaps you know. There was also, we were hoping for a post-construction review on Bellamy Gurner, some report back from National Highways, who were going to do something on that. I don't know where we are on that one. And I have 2 other omissions to note from the Highways Works programme, which perhaps Jamie might like to comment on. I do notice that in all of the reports, there is no cycleway work listed anywhere. And I just really do wonder whether we are paying enough attention to the needs of cyclists in the borough. We always think cars, we always think access, we always think vehicles. Cyclists around in the borough despair by the difficulty of cycling because there are constant missing links, and frankly it is usually in most cases dangerous to ride a bicycle in the borough, and I think that really ought to be something that's addressed. But to something that was committed but is not here, we did say, and I think Jamie agreed, that we were going to have a report on the parishes that were talking about highways improvement programmes, HIPs, and there is no report on which HIPs are being discussed, which parishes are involved. No, this is an initiative by Kent Highways, and there's always the issue about funding, but some of these do link through to developer funding. And as you all know, we're going into a local plan. And this is a very important agenda for parishes, and there ought to be a report at the JTB. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So
Do you want me to do that?
yeah, Jamie, if you could come in on that.
On the chat for the teams, I don't know whether everybody can see, but Claire did ask me the question about the petition report. Again, I'm surprised that hasn't been issued. I know that there's been a report written because it's gone around for people within the highway improvement team to check, and I was just CC'd into those emails. So I don't know why the report hasn't been issued, but I can only take that away, which is what I've said to Claire, to get the report on the petition from the highway improvement team sent through. No cycleway works. We do have a team. There is sort of budgetary funding across Kent for maintenance and installation of cycleways. The only thing I can really say for that on that point is if parish councils, councillors have any ideas where you'd like these link ups you're talking of, just report them to us, put in inquiries to us. It'll go to the correct team, and things will get looked into, things will get assessed, and it'll be a yes or a no, really. Can the cycleways be put in? Have we got the funding for it? Can something be upgraded? Can something be a shared cycleway instead of just a footway? There's definitely the team and there's definitely the funding for those things. It's not forgotten about. But obviously, it's a county-wide project. So, yeah, put in some inquiries as you normally would and just request it, and you should be on the end of an answer from the correct team. The HIPS discussion, yeah, I know it wasn't the last JTB because I wasn't on it, but the one before, we did sort of discuss whether or not going forward, I think Paul will remember, whether or not it was worth it being an agenda item. I don't know what's happened with that discussion. It would be for the highway improvement team themselves to sort of agree, because obviously that wouldn't just be an Ashford thing, that would be a county-wide, this is how we do JTBs. So the highway improvement team would need to be on board on that. Is it something they feel is for JTB or not? I'm not sure where that discussion went, but I can by all means go back on it. Chair, I don't know if you want to make it a discussion for the next agenda setting item for us to see if it's something that we want to flag.
Yeah, certainly I've got it noted down as something we can discuss at the next agenda setting meeting.
Especially seen as, like, even in Ashford Town Centre, we have HIPS for the town centre. We have HIPS for the parish councils. So, yeah, I mean, it could be an agenda item for it to be discussed. I know that obviously things that come off the HIPS and become a scheme make it to the Highway Works programme so that you can see that the scheme is actually being implemented and built. But yeah, the only thing I can think the Highway Improvement Team might say is that's what the HIP meetings with the parish councils are for. Obviously, the parishes have the meetings with the engagement team, discuss the HIPs, add things to the HIPs, take things away from the HIPs, and that's where the parishes, the councillors, get your updates regarding what's on your HIPs. So is it really a JTB matter? I'm not sure, but obviously it wouldn't be for me to say.
Just a correction, Jamie, not all the schemes, when they're implemented, actually get onto the works programme.
Yeah, they should.
They're not always reported.
Yeah, but so if ever you notice something's amiss with that, I mean, I can see that what I know of schemes wise is always on there, but they're usually the hot topics, the ones that are being discussed quite a fair bit. But if there's ever anything you notice isn't on the Forward Works programme, and you know that KCC are, telling you that that scheme's going to be happening in 2 or 3 months' time, just let me know, all right? And then the Highway Works programme can be updated.
Right.
It should be on there.
Okay, will do.
No worries. I think that covered everything.
Thank you, Jamie. Councillor McGeever.
Yes, it's just to sort of support is it Councillor Drury? Councillor Drury's opinion on HIPs and information on HIPs. I came to this meeting to substitute for Councillor Michael, and I thought, well, this is a good opportunity. Looking at agenda item 8, I didn't see particular jobs that I know are related to the ward that I represent, and they are strong safety issues. And I do believe that the parish council have taken them up as HIPs, but I can't see any progress made with them. And I would like to think, Jamie, if I sent you the information on those items, you could follow that up with your development team, because to me, these are safety items, public safety, and they're outstanding, and the road issues. And I think HIPs are an important integral part of the JT, the Joint Transport Group. And if we were to leave them out of that discussion point, we would begin to forget, or just sort of write something down and not follow it up with action. Because it's all right reporting on something, that's great, but you've really got to go out and do something about it, because to me, it's not happening. And there's certain situations in the ward that I represent. I'm just looking at something, the same old problems, time in, time out, nothing's getting done about them. Residents are complaining to me. I feel as though they're passing on the wrong word. I'm not seeing anything done. So yes, Councillor Drury's comments, we must make more of this. And Chair, I would like you to do whatever we've got to do to bring it into the fore and have it discussed. So we're not taking these items that I've got written down here and forgetting about them. And I won't go over them because I'll just keep talking, right? So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, it's well made. Yeah, we certainly take that away and ask whether, HIPs can be added as an agenda item going forward, and we get a report on them coming to this board. Councillor Feasey?
Yeah, just answering Councillor Drury's comment on the cycleways. This is all part of the consolidated travel fund that's available, and we should be bringing that to the next meeting anyway, Chairman. I hope through your good offices. The other thing I was going to speak to Jamie about, this £54 million for highway improvements on this pothole blitz. It would be nice to get a report on that at some stage on our allocation to Ashford and how we're doing with it. Would be very, very useful for this committee, if possible. But you can take that away, Jamie. I don't want an answer now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll take those points away as well. So are there any more comments or questions on that item? If not, I will move on to item number 9, which is the parking and waiting restrictions update. Are there any comments, questions? Councillor McGeever?
Yes, there's only one, and it's a point of observation. The document page is up to page 96, and my agenda doesn't actually include the plans for anything past, I don't know what the time is. I can rattle back, but if I go to page 96, if we can look at that, all I see is blanks. And it's not reported on. I haven't got any document to look at. I believe it's a plan. It's 70 onwards.
Yeah, it does seem like I thought they had just been left intentionally blank, but it does seem like some of them have been cut off.
Sorry, Chair, that was just there's nothing on those pages. It was just the printing just carried on.
Okay.
Danny did write a note about that. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Nothing on there.
Thank you. So yeah, it's just a printing error.
Well, there's no big secrets then. All right.
Councillor Feasey?
Just one point, Chairman, really just regarding the fast charging. I do understand the usage and I do understand the report, but I would just urge fast charging to be put in Ashford, certainly 50 kilowatt chargers. I do know that we've had some fast chargers put in at Tufton Street, 120 kilowatts, I think, Michael. 4 of them, they don't get a lot of usage, but I think it's one of those things you've got to build it and they will come. And if I was a taxi driver, I wouldn't want to convert to an electric vehicle if I knew that I couldn't charge it. It does need sorting at some point, and I do understand the dynamics of it, but I just ask us to keep on looking at it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's one of those where sort of if you don't have the infrastructure, people aren't going to move over, but then you build the infrastructure, people say, well, you need to justify it, but maybe you need to give it time for people to actually move over before it's used. Are there any other comments or questions on that? If not, I will bring us to the end of the agenda. Councillor Hayes?
Don't have any other business, Chairman, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to request an item in the future about the high-speed train stopping in Ashford. When myself and Paul Bartlett were chairman, on a number of occasions we had people come and inform us of what's going on. One hears statements by the chief executive from the news, but I think this format, the JTB, should be kept up to date with the situation. So perhaps you will consider having an item on that at the next meeting.
Yes, so is that Eurostar?
That's Eurostar, the international train stopping in Ashford.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think
Other operators as well?
Operators, the whole story.
Yes, yeah, I mean,
Eurostar
absolutely, it'd be
Webstock.
good to get an
That's
update. Would that be from Ashford Borough Council in terms
Ashford
of what
Borough
they're
Council,
doing? to-
KCC, anyone else
Yeah.
external?
Okay, absolutely, yeah, we can get that. I'd be very keen to hear on that as well. Councillor Peacey?
Could I just raise a I was just saying about the bus service bill that's going through Parliament at the moment. KCC are able to start up their own bus services, and I just wondered if there was any plans for KCC to do that. But it would be quite useful to understand that what is actually happening with buses as well.
Yeah, I agree. Be useful to get an update whether KCC are considering anything on that, and whether they interested in taking that option up. Okay, if that's everything, I will close the meeting there. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you.
Thank you.